Week 8 of the fantasy football season. Here's the top 15 tight ends I'm ranking this week. Number 1, Tyler Warren of the Indianapolis Colts. So Tyler Warren, it's been a monster rookie year for him. Weekly, it seems like he's finding the end zone for this Indianapolis Colts team. And this week with a great matchup versus the Tennessee Titans, where they really haven't stopped anyone all season long. And Daniel Jones locked in with Warren as the number 1 option in this passing game. I think he goes out there and has another big game. Number 2, Jake Ferguson of the Dallas Cowboys. So Ferguson, the numbers are going to drop for him. He's on a heater right now, 6 touchdowns in the last 4 games. CeeDee Lamb did return last week, obviously in that game versus the Commanders. But Jake Ferguson has a knack for the end zone. Him and Dak are locked in. And this week at Denver in a ball game, I know it's a great defense in Denver, obviously. I still think Ferguson goes out there and is a good game. When we saw last week, Theo Johnson and Daniel Bellinger, both giant tight ends, found the end zone. Number 3, Tucker Kraft of the Green Bay Packers. So this week, a decent matchup at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Last week, the Steelers gave up 4 catches, 44 yards, and a touchdown to Noah Fant. And Noah Fant really hasn't done much all season long. So this Steelers defense has been hit or miss this year. I know they got a lot of great names, obviously. T.J. Watt, Hayward, Darius Slay, Jalen Ramsey on this defense. A lot of Pro Bowl type of players, obviously. But Tucker Kraft, he is the number 1 option in this passing game for the Green Bay Packers. And I think this week at Pittsburgh, in a potential high-scoring game, he goes out there and gets his numbers. Number 4, George Kittle of the San Francisco 49ers. So last week, he came back with George Kittle for this 49er team. Obviously, there was no production where it was pretty much the Christian McCaffrey game. But this week at Houston, second week back, Purdy possibly returning this ball game as well for this San Francisco 49er team. I think Kittle had to get the rust off a little bit last week. Now to get his legs under him in another week of practice before the game. I think this week at Houston, he bounces back. Number 5, Dallas Goedert of the Philadelphia Eagles. A couple weeks ago versus the same Giant defense, Goedert went out there on Thursday night in Week 6 and had a big game. 9 catches, 110 yards, and found the end zone. So him and Hurts have been locked in all season long. Last week, I know it was a down game for Goedert, where it was the Devonta Smith ball game, 183 in the touchdown, and A.J. Brown found the end zone as well in that game. But like I said, Goedert's had a great track record versus the Giants in his career, and obviously 2 weeks ago. And I think once again this week he goes out there, has a good game. Number 6, Dalton Kincaid of the Buffalo Bills. So this week a good matchup with Carolina. I know the Panthers have won 3 in a row, but their defense isn't really that good. I know last week they held the Jets down, but the Jets are the worst offense in pro football. And Kincaid, we know he can run all the routes. We know he's a big target in the end zone. And arguably, he's the number 1 option in this passing game most weeks. Him with Khalil Shakir for this Buffalo Bill team. So if he's back from the oblique injury and ready to go, I think Kincaid has a good ball game with 2 weeks of rest. Number 7, Oronde Gadsden of the Los Angeles Chargers. Last week was the breakout game for the rookie. 7 catches, 164 yards, and he found the end zone in that game versus the Indianapolis Colts. And this week, Thursday night, here tonight, these games are usually high scoring, and Gadsden, he's a matchup problem. And obviously defenses are rolling attention to Keenan Allen, Quentin Johnston, and Lab McConkey, where it's either single coverage or zone defense versus Gadsden. So he's a big athlete, a guy who can run the routes, obviously a lot of speed at the tight end position, and he's definitely been moving up the rankings quickly the last few weeks. Number 8, Travis Kelce of the Kansas City Chiefs. So obviously Kelce, his numbers are going to take a hit with Rashee Rice back. Rashee Rice had 2 touchdowns in last week's game. Hollywood Brown had 1 as well. And Kelce now, he's more of a touchdown-dependent type of tight end, where obviously he's not the number 1 option in this passing game anymore for this Kansas City Chiefs team. But I still think this week it's a good matchup versus the Commanders. We saw Jake Ferguson have a nice game versus them last week. And Kelce, I still think weekly is a top 10 option. Number 9, Kyle Pitts of the Atlanta Falcons. So Kyle Pitts, he's definitely been more consistent this season than any other season pretty much for this Atlanta Falcon team. And last week it was another good game for Pitts. This week a great matchup versus the Dolphins, a defense that can't stop anyone. And Kyle Pitts, we know he's a great talent. It just hasn't come together for him with a lot of offensive coordinators and obviously a lot of quarterbacks throughout his career. But this week with a good matchup versus Miami, a defense that can't stop anyone, and their back home is Atlanta, I think Pitts could go out there again and have a good game. Number 10, Cade Otton of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's easily the number 2 option. Worst case for this offense going into this game at the New Orleans Saints. Mike Evans obviously outbroke the collarbone last week's game. Chris Godwin, Todd Bowles already said he's not going to play in this game. And now they're down to Emeka Egbuka, still not 100% with the hamstring injury. And Cade Otton and Tez Johnson and Sterling Shepard. So Cade Otton the last 3 weeks, he's been playing good football, 20 targets in that time, where the first month of the season, he was pretty much non-existent. When now with the injuries and him and Baker getting back on the same page, this week in New Orleans, it wouldn't be surprising if Cade Otton could go out there and find the end zone in this one with all the injuries and being the number 2 option in the offense. Number 11, Hunter Henry of the New England Patriots. So Hunter Henry, he got off to a nice start early in the season, but the last few weeks the numbers have dropped off for Hunter Henry. He's not getting as many targets, not getting as many catches, obviously. And with Kayshon Boutte emerging, especially the last 3 weeks here, and Stephon Diggs pretty much almost 100% healthy, and his numbers have gone up over the last month of the season. Hunter Henry's numbers are dropping, but this week I still think it's a decent matchup versus the Browns, and they're back home as well is the Patriots. Harold Fannin Jr. of the Cleveland Browns. So the Browns, they're hopeful David Njoku could play in this ball game, but I don't think it's looking good for Njoku once again. He's got a knee injury, and if this Brown team wants to get rid of him towards the NFL trade deadline in the next couple weeks, I don't think they're going to put him out there where he's an expiring contract, and maybe they could get a 4th or 5th rounder in a deal for him. Harold Fannin has had some flashes so far in his rookie season. Him and Gabriel, for the most part, have been locked in, and this week, once again, they're going to be chasing points at the New England Patriots as this Cleveland Brown team. So I think Fannin, even off a bad week last week, but he ran a lot of routes. He had a decent amount of targets in that game. He could be a guy that's next to top 12, 13, Evan Ingram of the Denver Broncos. Evan Ingram this week, it's a good matchup. His usage went up last week. And this Bronco team, they just got unleashed offensively. We saw what they could do in the fourth quarter in last week's game, scoring 33 points, a historic comeback, beating the New York Giants, where you just let Bo Nix go out there and stretch the field. Just too many bubble routes and short screens early on in that game. And a lot of Bo Nix out of the pocket throwing. Keep him in the pocket, run these good plays, and this offense could get going. And this week, I think we could see Evan Ingram getting going, where they're versus the Dallas Cowboys, the worst linebacking crew, in my opinion, in all the NFL. So this week with a good matchup, I think Ingram goes out there and is a good game. Number 14, TJ Hawkinson of the Minnesota Vikings. So Hawkinson, it's been a down season for him. They play here tonight at the Chargers. Usually these are high-scoring games on Thursday Night Football, and they got to get Hawkinson the ball because he's a matchup problem. I know he's probably not 100% still recovered from that ACL. It takes up to 2 seasons sometimes to get it all back in terms of obviously speed, jumping, and running ability. But TJ Hawkinson's still a playmaker and someone who could go out there and make plays. And this week in a potential high-scoring game at the Chargers, I still like him as a top 15 option. In the 15th and final tight end I'm ranking, it's Dalton Schultz of the Houston Texans. Someone's going to have to catch the football over there in Houston. It's not looking good for Nico Collins to play in this game where he's in concussion protocol and missed practice to start the week off. And last week, it was the best game of the year for Schultz. 9 catches, 98 yards in the loss at the Seattle Seahawks. So Schultz, he has good hands. He's the second targeted guy in this offense behind Nico Collins this season. These young guys in the receiving room for Houston, they haven't done much. Jalen Noel, Jaden Higgins, and Xavier Hutchinson, those guys really haven't done much. So I think Dalton Schultz, with Nico Collins most likely out, will be the number 1 option in the passing game. And they could be chasing points early and often versus San Francisco. That's the top 15 tight ends I'm ranking for Week 8 of the fantasy football season.